Welcome to a new Daily Top Askreddit video. Today's topic.
What would happen if a country retaliated against US tariffs by, among other things, imposing a 200% or 300% tariff on Tesla vehicles? Nobody would buy Teslas. Simple. The amount it takes to make a Tesla would never justify the amount paid for one in this case. Chinese Teslas, I believe, are manufactured in China. So, at least for China, I don't think they are imports. This is correct, but the EU has huge tariffs on Chinese EV. European Teslas are made in Germany, most other international Teslas are made in China. We could retaliate against Elon more easily by killing the tariff against Chinese EVs and implementing consumer data protections against Twitter, Facebook and other American data harvesting stuff. Do a US and declare that Twitter are a national security risk and have to sell off to a EU-managed company or be blocked. Slightly alter car safety standards so Teslas won't pass, and then ban them. A country can still levy tariffs specifically against Teslas produced there. Edit, to clarify, by there I meant other countries. What? No developed country has a mechanism to tariff domestically made products. That doesn't even make sense because the whole point of tariffing a foreign product is to get them to move production within your borders. Canada's former finance minister and current Liberal Party leadership contender has proposed a bold countermeasure, slapping 100% tariffs on select American goods, including Teslas. If they are targeted towards billionaires, then maybe it could make a difference. Nope, they can weather any real storm that doesn't involve massive amounts of people in the street. Canada is actually proposing a 100% tariff on Teslas. Go Canada. If they follow through on putting tariffs on Nazi car, I would personally go buy Canadian-made goods worth $1,000 on February 4th when tariffs kick in. I like the sentiment, but I would save every penny at this point. Things are going to get very rough now. The market would correct itself and there would be zero demand for Teslas in the country that imposed the tariff. Not that Tesla would give a shit, they wouldn't. The thing about Tesla tariffs is that in the countries they sell in, most of them are made there. For example, in the EU they come from the Berlin plant and in China they come from the Shanghai plant. Tesla sold over 60,000 cars in Canada in 2023. I'd say it's a non-trivial number. Tesla's brand is so toxic outside the US now that I doubt it would make much difference. Buying one now is like buying a German car in 1939. Brand is pretty toxic in the US too. I've seen multiple stickers on them around where I live along the lines of, bought this before I knew Musk was a Nazi. History provides some clues in the form of the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act of 1930, https://en.m.wikipedia.org/wiki/smoot%e2% 80% 93 Hawley_tariff_act. Anyone? It did not work. Wasn't the Smoot-Hawley Act pretty broad? What OP is proposing is a very targeted tariff of high proportion. Is there an example of that happening in history? Man, the GNP halved for $100 million to $50 million and unemployment doubled from 8% to 16%. How could Biden do this to us? Question mark. Not much, since Tesla sales aren't a significant factor in the economy as a whole or the trade between any two countries in particular. On the contrary, Musk might actually view it as a positive since he could pivot to blaming that for flagging Tesla revenues instead of his own mismanagement and the disgust much of Tesla's target demographic now feels for him personally. The dude's ego is massive enough that he made enough noise that the head of the FAA ended up pressured into facing the option of resigning or probably being shit-canned by the new administration for the slight of having dared to impose fines when SpaceX operated outside the limits of their permitting. National security risk block Twitter and Starlink like a bunch of countries did to Huawei. If you want to hit the US where it hurts, do it with products that everyone needs. For example, Canada is the source of a product called potash. Saskatchewan is the largest producer of it in the world. Why does this matter? It's a key component in fertilizer. So if Canada puts a tariff on potash, the cost for every farmer in the US goes up. Which means grocery bills go up. For everyone. That's exactly what the PM announced Canada's doing. He even specifically mentioned potash. And the farmers get bailed out, and they continue voting against their interests. I'd prefer they do 420.69%. Canada already announced this is their plan, to target certain companies and tariff TF out of them. GTFO Elon. But tariffs don't work, they just increase costs for us, right? A Canadian politician has proposed a 100% tariff on Teslas, because Elon. It would kill sales of Teslas in Canada. I'd expect Tesla would sue, on the grounds of discrimination. Since Elon controls the country, we would immediately start bombing Canada. Elon would throw up more Nazi salutes and blame the ever-ambiguous wokeness. American-made cars are already subject to tariffs in a great many nations. The UK already has said that the dumpster-shaped monstrosity isn't road legal, which seems to be a smart and obvious move. Considering the actual road safety record, it'd be easier, more sensible to ban imports at all. Most countries have laws or constitutional bits that prevent targeting a specific individual or business. That is why Trump doing that sort of thing or threatening it is such a huge deal. Nope, Kentucky bourbon and Tennessee whiskey are about to be banned in Canada. That is because in most of Canada liquor can only be bought at a government-run liquor store, and they are just going to stop carrying it. Yup, in the US it's called a Bill of Attainder, and it is specifically outlawed in the Constitution. We literally just banned TikTok. The US definitely has the power to go after individual companies with tariffs or other restrictions. We've done it many times before, which doesn't apply to a corporate person, and definitely doesn't apply to a nation and products being imported from that nation. Canada can tariff or ban any product it chooses that is imported, both specifically and generally, as defined by the WTO rules. Bill of Attainder. Absolutely nothing to do with putting tariffs on specific products. https://www.law.cornell.edu/wec/bill_of_attainder. The Canadian Constitution has this neat little trick called the notwithstanding clause, which allows the government to pass and enforce laws that would otherwise violate the Constitution, with the caveat they are subject to renewal every 5 years. So, it would be legally possible. That is genuinely interesting and a bit sad. Not only that, I think if the EU, Canada, Mexico, etc. blocked Meta's sites, FB and Insta, and Apple products from their countries, it would have a pretty big impact in getting the tech oligarchs to turn against Trump. After all, they only care about money and Trump is just a useful pawn to get them rich. Let's just undo the tariff on BYD and Chinese EVs. They're already a decade ahead of Tesla. I read today that Denmark is considering a 500% tariff on Ozempic. It has been speculated that Trump is using Ozempic to lose his huge amount of weight that he was carrying around 4 years ago. That would make the taxpayer on the hook for a very expensive medication for His Highness. Denmark can't impose a tariff on something they export. What they can do is increase the price to US markets by 500%. Denmark can't impose a tariff on something they export. They certainly can. It's called an export tariff, and while they're not as common as import tariffs, they do exist. Maybe that is what they meant. The article mentioned it as a tariff, which I thought was wrong, but figured they knew something different than I did. Disclaimer, I am not a lawyer, but I think such a tariff being imposed in Canada would not work. The Tesla company could file suit against the Canadian Gov on the grounds that the tariff is prejudicial and abuse of process. And since that's true, they have a good chance of winning. I have a better idea. Big car companies are allowed to self-certify that they are in compliance with all the relevant crash, safety and emissions regulations. But there seems to be a fair bit of evidence that the Cybertruck does not in fact meet those standards. So, have our National Standards Authority actually test a few Cybertrucks. If they fail, ban importation and sales of existing new stock until Tesla brings them back into compliance. If the failure is particularly dangerous or egregious, force a recall of all affected vehicles. In that press release, make it clear that owners of affected Tesla vehicles do have a basis for a lawsuit because Tesla sold a vehicle not fit for the road. So instead of filing one big suit as the plaintiff, Tesla has to defend against numerous suits from aggrieved buyers. But there seems to be a fair bit of evidence that the Cybertruck. They are banned in the UK and someone driving there in one recently had the car impounded. So it's doable. Technically they are not banned, they are not approved, the end result is the same but the reasonings are different. The Tesla company could file suit against the Canadian Gov on the grounds that the tariff is prejudicial and abuse of process. Not true. Last time Canada targeted Jack Daniels and Harley Davidson amongst others. They absolutely can target specific goods. Where are you going to file suit? If US can ban Huawei, why is it illegal for Canada to ban Tesla? Legally, can't a country ban whatever product its government wants to ban, assuming their laws don't prohibit such a ban? The Tesla company could file suit against the Canadian Gov on the grounds that the tariff is prejudicial and abuse of process. Even if that was the case, it'd probably be the first time everyone agreed that it was okay to use the notwithstanding clause, which would make the law unreviewable by the courts. Elon, as president, would authorize covert military action. This is a silly question. We get it. You're mad at Elon. Tesla sales aren't even a factor anymore. He's busy sweeping Social Security funds into his personal accounts right now. Change all your withholdings to the minimum, kids. Why pay taxes when the muskrat is just going to steal them? How do you do that? Hilarity. Canada's has alternative EVs. This makes Canadians much less likely to buy Teslas and go for the non-US competitors. Canada is doing 100%. Elon would probably do something absurd, like tank the global economy, since he has basically unfettered access to the US Treasury systems. Honestly, there's probably already black hat groups that have tunneled into the Treasury systems, considering how secure that server his XAI folks that were installed at OPM setup turned out to be. Don't know about all Teslas, but Cybertrucks can't even be sold in most places because they don't pass basic safety standards. Okay, tariffs only impact the importing country. Here is the bottom line: if a seller pays more, you pay more if you buy it. Nothing. The nations the US are targeting just aren't big markets. The only play here is a full trade embargo on the US. Deny them access to foreign natural resources entirely, that's all they really care about.